Well, good morning. Good morning. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Welcome into the show. My name is Marc Farzetta, and this is the Steven Singer Studios. We got a lot to get to today. I hope everyone's enjoying the long weekend. We're going to get to the very special reason why, obviously, we have a long weekend in just a second. Marc Zumoff will be on the show today to talk about what will likely be his last game of the season as the home broadcast steps aside and the national guys take over in the second round of the playoffs. We'll talk to Marc Zumoff, reflect on the year without fans until fans were finally allowed to be back in the Wells Fargo Center and what that meant to him, not just as a broadcaster, but a lifelong Philadelphian as well. We'll get to that. We'll get to the rest of the NBA playoffs. We will talk about the Philadelphia Phillies a little bit as they falter, although I know no one really wants to, but we'll get into it briefly. And we'll talk a little bit about what tomorrow means for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I want to start off with this. I know it's more common for people to end the show with a tribute, especially when it comes to something as special as Memorial Day. And I believe the way I even started off by saying Happy Memorial Day isn't generally the way you're supposed to do that. So I apologize for that. But I do want to say thank you for this Memorial Day because I was doing some reflection, honestly. And I have a lot of family that's militarily involved and all that, Marines and Army, Navy, Coast Guard. I mentioned enough times about my grandfather who passed in February. He was a proud coastie. And I was thinking about it. I'm very lucky in my life that a lot of my family has come back. And a lot of my family went off to war at World War II. What's going on in the Middle East, obviously, and they've come back and they've told me their story, and they've told the younger generations their story, especially when it comes to that World War II generation, and that's what my grandparents' generation was. And I might have told you before, I interviewed my mom's uncle who was 98 years old, my Uncle Andy, and he talked to me for 2.5 hours about his time in the European campaign during World War II, and he got to France 6 days after D-Day, and told me his whole story of going through France, going through Belgium, going into Germany, and then how his last 2 weeks in the Army, he was sent to the south of France for R&R before he was sent back, and told me this beautiful story after the war. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about all those stories, and I guess for the first time, you could know something, but it doesn't occur to you for whatever reason. For whatever dumb reason, it doesn't occur to you until that lightning bolt hits your head and you go, oh, wait, hold on, wow. And I'm listening to all these stories, and I'm going over them in my head for my grandfather and my uncle and my other uncles that have served, obviously, and my cousins that have served. And I'm thinking about it, and it's like, how lucky am I? How fortunate am I where I get these stories from the people that live them? It's not told to me by somebody else who's telling me the story of my family member. And that's what really got me thinking this particular Memorial Day. I don't know why it just hit me now, but or over the weekend, rather. Like for all the people that haven't had the opportunity that I've been so lucky to have, and my family has been so lucky to have, for all the people that haven't had that opportunity because their relative, their loved one, their uncle, their cousin, whatever it might be, whoever it might be, they didn't come back. That's why we have today. And I want to start the show off by saying thank you and how much I appreciate and how much we should all appreciate the people that did not come back to be able to tell their story to their loved ones. Thank you for your service. Thank you for to the family members for your sacrifice. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I know I mentioned this on Friday, but I'm a supporter of the Travis Manion Foundation. Travis was a teammate of mine as we played intramural basketball together. We won a championship. And I would see him around town every once in a while. I grew up in Doylestown. And, we'd say hi, how you doing? Good to see you, and stuff like that. And then I found out, unfortunately, about Travis's passing. I was walking through the courtyard in Doylestown at the courthouse. They have a little courtyard out front. And they had banners up for fallen soldiers. And I looked up and I saw Travis's banner was up there. And I didn't know what it was at first. And I should say armed forces. And I looked up and I saw Travis. I was like, oh, what's Travis up to? And that's where I saw that it was, KIA in 2007. And I couldn't believe it. He was a phenomenal wrestler and just an all-around great guy. And anytime I got a chance to bump into him, I always enjoyed getting a chance to catch up with him. And that season we played basketball together, just the nicest guy in the world. And it's still jarring to me. And whenever I see Ryan, his sister, on TV promoting the Travis Banyan Foundation, it always just takes me back. I just can't. It's one of those things that I just still can't believe. So I just want to say to everyone again whose family member did not come back, your sacrifice, what you have to deal with in your life, is appreciated here, and it should be obviously appreciated from everyone, from every American. So I hope everyone at least gets to enjoy and also reflect on this long weekend. With that being said, welcome in once again to the show. We got a lot of basketball we're going to be discussing today. I want to start it off with just how dominant those 76ers were over the weekend. I can't believe it. I'm looking at them play the way they played in Game 3 against the Wizards. And I'm thinking about all the steps that we have gotten through as a fan base to get to this point when it comes to the Sixers. All the steps we have gone through. The process, bounced out of the playoffs earlier than expected, swept out of the playoffs last year. And it really all culminated with one particular thing. And this is what got the wheels turning on it. After the Sixers took Game 3 in the fashion that they did, Doc Rivers goes out for his press conference. And for a second, he couldn't remember the name Ish Smith. And he was talking about how they gave us some trouble, whatever. They're talking about Bradley Beal and what's his name. And he couldn't think of the name Ish Smith. And that's what got me thinking, how far we have come. Ish Smith started, 35 games during the process. He was traded away, and then he came back. I believe it was Jerry Colangelo, not Brian Colangelo, not Collars, but Dad, right? Daddy Collars. Jerry Colangelo. He traded for Ish Smith to kind of help out, at least give the offense a point guard that had some know-how, I guess. But he started like 30, 40 games, whatever it was, during the process era for the 76ers. And now our current head coach was like, what was that guy's name that we were playing against today? No one? Ish Smith. But for whatever reason, it just got the wheels turned out. Wow, how far have we come? That guy was a starter just a couple of years ago, and now we're talking about possibly a Sixers team that could be making it to the NBA Finals. And it all starts with this little series here. They got to finish it off with Game 4 tonight, 7 o'clock in D.C., and the Sixers, I believe, will do that. And we'll get to that in our big bet segment brought to you by DraftKings. But how far we have come. Now, let's get to the other thing. Joel Embiid has been nothing short of spectacular in this series. Talk about the first game of the season, or first game of the series. He goes out there, gets into foul trouble, still ends up, blink of an eye, 30 points. What? How's that happen? And then the second game, mild-mannered game for Joel Embiid. Only 22 points, but it was a blowout. He emptied the bench. You're good to go. In Game 3, Joel Embiid is just an Adonis, is what he is. An Adonis of a basketball player. The entire time the Sixers were playing and Joel Embiid was dominating, it looked effortless. It looked like one of those games where it was like, wait, how many? He's been in for 20 minutes. He's got 25 points. What? It wasn't even like he was shooting a lot of foul shots. That's how a lot of guys get the sneaky 30 points as they start hitting foul shots. It wasn't even like that for Joel Embiid in this game. It was just post-play dominant, step-back jumpers, making things happen on the baseline, cutting to the rim with that monster slam before halftime. That was the type of play. When I was rewatching the game the next day, my wife was walking around. She's taking care of little toots, right? And I go, babe, you gotta see this. And I rewound it again. I was just watch this play. And my wife's reaction was, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, he does this every night, babe. But that particular play, right before the half, where he made a little juke move at the foul line extended on the perimeter, cut to the basket, and just threw down a monster slam. It was like you could feel the floor shake all the way from Washington here in Philadelphia. That's what it felt like to me. And then Ben Simmons continues to be aggressive and attack the rim, got 14 points in that game. Tobias Harris continues to be consistent. You had Seth Curry fight through a little bit of an injury, so he was available and playing for the Sixers. But you just continue to be able to empty the bench in this game. And one of the most amazing things that gets said in this game was after the game, actually. Scotty Brooks, head coach for the Wizards, comes out after the game and says that the 76ers are a championship-ready team. Like that, like he knows there's 4 games to this series, right? He knows it wasn't a 3-game series. It wasn't the best of 5. Like you know that wasn't a like. Wow, if that was our head coach and the Sixers were down to the Wizards and our head coach is saying that, oh my God, would the world be on fire. Unbelievable. So, like, what did he say about his own team? Did he say that they were playing game ready? Is that what that had to say about his own squad? And Scotty Brooks did a great job towards the end of the season to make sure he was pushing that team over the hump, that Russell Westbrook was getting it going, and Bradley Beal was getting it going. And they were something incredible down the stretch to end the season to be able to actually make the play-in game tournament. But I can't believe that a head coach that had not been eliminated yet came out after the game and said, yeah, the team we're playing, well, they're championship caliber. So I think I'm just going to sit everybody in game 4. That's kind of what it felt like. And I hope he does, because Sixers, by the way, -8. Get on that. But that's what he said after the game, and I still couldn't believe it. I did love the attitude from Joel Embiid after the game, and this is exactly what the attitude you want your team to have. The attitude was that they haven't done anything. Like, he even went on with Scott Van Pelt after the game. The interview aired hours after, but they interviewed, SVP interviewed Joel Embiid after the game, aired it on the show a couple hours later, and Joel Embiid talked about how nobody's happy. Certainly nobody's satisfied, and they got to keep pushing on. And one of the things that he got into was, he said, and I talked to you about the first couple of playoff series of the after the process where they lose to Boston. They unfortunately go on to lose in the second round to Toronto. They get swept out of the playoffs last year. And Joel Embiid came out yesterday, or after on Scott Van Pelt, and said that the first couple of playoff series in his career, he felt like he wasn't ready. He was there physically, but felt like he just wasn't ready to be there. Now he feels like he is ready to be there. And if that's the case, and it certainly looks like that, I mean, it's one thing to hear it, or it's one thing to see it and go, oh, this is incredible. But we've seen him play at an extremely high level before. But then for him to let you in on a little bit of his mindset, like, oh yeah, those other playoff series, I was there, but I didn't feel like I was ready. Now the team has matured to a point where they're all ready. They all look like they're ready. And for a head coach like Scotty Brooks to come out after a game and say, oh yeah, it's a championship team right there, that lets you know that around the league, it's respected as well, that this team is ready to make a run at the postseason, or through the postseason, I should say. And I'm here for every ounce of it. I'm here for every dribble of it. And I'm here to cash in for the years that we did go through as Sixers fans where it was dreck. And right now, you talk about a championship, there will be no ifs, ands, or buts, no counter argument to say whether or not the process was a success or a failure. You bring back a championship, oh, we're talking about a huge, huge success. And now look what happened out there in Los Angeles. I know, despite talking about a 7 seed, whatever you want to call them, Los Angeles, the Lakers. I mean, the Clippers came back; they're now 2-2 with the Mavericks. But the Lakers in particular here, Anthony Davis goes down with a groin injury day to day. Went down at the end of the first half, came down awkwardly. It looked like he collided a little bit with DeAndre Ayton's leg. He went down like a sack of potatoes. Day to day right now with a groin injury. We'll see what his status is going to be going forward in the playoffs. But right now, you look at that series with the Lakers, and they're what now? Tied at 2 games apiece. So that's all knotted up right now in the West. It's interesting. The Lakers go down, or the Lakers get bounced out in this first round, and we're talking about something that could be a wide open run here for just about anybody. I know a lot of people look at the Nets and say that they're going to be the favorite, but hey, it's wide open for the Sixers. If their defense can kick in on high gear against the Nets, then yeah. And I know that's getting way ahead of ourselves. But then, yeah, we're talking about something special that could be happening this year beyond just the goal that I set out for the Sixers of getting past the second round of the playoffs, which they haven't done since Allen Iverson. But I one more thing on that game 3. Ben Simmons being aggressive and attacking the rim has been great. And Ben Simmons giving you points has been great. 0 for 9 from the foul line should not happen. And it should not be a hot take to say that Ben Simmons, it should not be a hot take to say any NBA player should not be 0 for 9 from the foul line in the playoffs. That's not a hot take. That's not focusing on the negative. That is simply saying 0 for 9 is unacceptable. I don't care if he's attacking the rim. I know he can do that. As I told you after his 22-point performance after game 2, I wasn't like blown away by Ben Simmons. Oh, Ben's great. Like, for me to celebrate that the way some people were celebrating that would mean that everything I said about Ben's game after game 1 meant nothing. Like, oh, he's only being productive if he's getting you 20 plus points. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to spike the football in that. I'm not going to celebrate that. I'm going to say, oh, wow, he had a good game. He was, as I told you last week, He got points in transition. The transitional points were right there for the taking for Ben Simmons. The half-court set, not so much. But everything else, he was making points happen. Those were available for the game. Tobias didn't get it going as early as he did in game one. So the opportunities were there for Ben Simmons. I love everything about his game. Foul shooting has to improve. Do I want to see him develop a jump shot? Of course. But the number one thing that has to improve sooner rather than later is foul shooting. If he's going to attack the rim and be that aggressive, and I'm just shocked as all hell that it took Scotty Brooks forever to figure this out. If Ben Simmons is going to attack the rim of your opposing team, why are you letting him get to the rim? Why are you not wrapping him up, going for the ball so you don't get the technical or the flagrant? Why are you not wrapping him up? Why are you not fouling him en route to the hoop in hopes to put him at the line where he's been bad? I mean, really, we have that 1 month of February that I feel like I mentioned every show now, where he actually knocked down, 72% of his free throws, and it was like, let's do cartwheels. You get that version of Ben Simmons, then you're legitimately talking about this team doing something next level, getting to an NBA final, maybe winning an NBA final. But when it comes down to the foul shooting, yeah, that's what you would like to see Ben improve upon quickly for this team to make it to the next level here. Before we talk to our friend Marc Zumoff, I do want to get on the Phillies. What the hell was that in the seventh inning yesterday? Did you watch the Phillies at all yesterday? The Phillies come out, seventh inning, I believe it was, and they get a single, runners on first and second. I believe there was one out, or two outs. Base hit to right center field. Brad Miller fields it. And I think he was trying to throw the ball home, because I don't think that a baseball player is trying to throw a ball into the screen behind home plate from right field. But he overthrows everybody in right field. And I think he would be able to get the runner at home. But he overthrows everybody in the middle of the diamond. It goes up and hits against the backstop. It gets fielded. Then they try to throw out at home. We get the throw out at home. That's an overthrow. I believe it was from Real Muto. He overthrew. No, he was DH. It was an overthrow from Knapp. He overthrows home. What the hell? And then they get somebody caught in a rundown between second and third base. Rhys Hoskins ends up going up there and assisting in the rundown. Alec Boehm ends up getting the put out. I don't know what has gotten into this baseball team, but they have just turned dumb on the road. That's how it feels. They have just turned plain dumb on the road. Bad baseball. I know Rhys Hoskins has started to hit. It started really in that the Marlins series. That's great. But as far as this team in the field, oh my God. To the kids at home that are wanting to be baseball players when they grow up, the kids at home that want to play in the Little League and all that, this is bad baseball. Watch another team if you're looking for X's and O's of the baseball world. Watch another team if you're looking for how to play on a baseball diamond. Because what the Phillies are doing right now is just god-awful. Anyway, let me tell you about my friend Steven Singer before we get to my friend Marc Zumoff coming up in a second here. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia. Had another friend reach out to me over the weekend and say it might be time to pop the question. Well, that's why I sent him to Steven Singer. All my friends, family, personal life, I send you to Steven Singer. Everyone here listening to the show, commenting here on the show as well, guess what? I send you to Steven Singer as well. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia. Do what I do. Go to Steven Singer Jewelers, because every day you know you're going to get the perfect price. It's not about taking advantage of a sale. Oh, let me draw you in with a sale. No. Every day, perfect price. Every day. All day. The perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers. You go in. If you're ready to get engaged, guess what? They got Ready for Love diamonds. They actually showed me they're Ready for Love diamonds some time ago, and I looked at it and I said, that's beautiful. Let me see show me the rest of the inventory. And they showed me everything they had. It was just gorgeous. Hard to make a decision because it was so good, but everything they have there is ready to go. It is beautiful. Diamonds, jewelry, gold, everything at Steven Singer Jewelers. And one of the best things, other than the perfect price, is that you're going to be walked through everything by a real jewelry expert, because that's what they do at Steven Singer Jewelers. They take care of their customers. And when it comes to the perfect price, here's a little tip. Every other jeweler, what they'll do is they'll mark up the price just so they knock it down a couple of bucks in front of you to make you feel like you won something. Yeah, it's not how it works at Steven Singer. No worries about negotiating. You don't have to worry about that and haggling. No. You go in there, you're already set at the perfect price. So all you got to do is worry about what you want, and Steven Singer Jewelers will take care of you. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, or at IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's jump on the Zatos Investments guest line and talk to our good friend Marc Zumoff as it all comes to an end, probably tonight as the Sixers most likely will be taking Game 4 against the Wizards. Here is our good friend, Marc Zumoff. And joining us now on the Zatos Investments guest line, friend of the show, best friend of the show, as a matter of fact, Marc Zumoff, your play-by-play man on NBC Sports Philadelphia for your 10-9-8 76ers. Marc Zumoff, how are you, sir?
Well, we're up 3-0. How do you think I'm doing? I'm wearing my Super Bowl shirt. Life is good right now.
I know you've seen it. There's the famous meme that's going around right now. I think it was Gipper that originated it, and it's just basically you saying you're going to scream yes as loud as you possibly can. Have you seen this?
I have seen it, of course. I'm too old to realize what it is and what a meme is, but my niece actually brought it to my attention. She said, Uncle Mark, you're a meme. And I said, is that good? And she said, as long as people aren't making fun of you, yes, it is good. So I'm happy that there's a meme out there for me.
Oh, I'll say this, Mark. We all, every Sixers fan, and I grew up, in this area, and hearing you yell that word, yes, means we are all experiencing euphoria right along with you, Zoo. So we all look forward to that. And during this series, like you mentioned, 3-0, we've been hearing it a lot, my man. How have you been enjoying the first 3 games of this playoff series against the Wizards?
Each game, the Sixers, I think, have gotten progressively more dominant. I think that layoff of, 6 days, and the starters hadn't played in 8 days. So in game 1, I think they showed that a little bit. And really, I think to this point, that was clearly the Wizards' best chance of winning a game in this series. Game 2, of course, they killed them, and game 3 was a shellacking as well. It was great to see them do it on the road. There was all this talk about the Wizards, and they're playing in front of 50% capacity. It's their largest crowd of the season. They're all psyched. Scott Brooks saying that they had a really good practice between games 2 and 3, but clearly that all fizzled. The Sixers took the crowd out of the game from the get-go, and they didn't really matter after that.
I know we always talk about how players like feeding off the crowd. What about as a broadcaster? How much have you enjoyed that crowd being back at the Wells Fargo Center?
It's funny you would say that, and I'm not sure, Mark, if you and I had talked about this before, but I'll repeat myself just because I'm 65 years old and I can. There was an instance during the regular season when no fans were at Wells Fargo Center, and I believe it was a game that the Sixers lost. I want to say the Cleveland game, but Joel Embiid was going in for a potential game-winning shot with seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. And I remember I had almost, as I'm calling this play, I had this sort of out-of-body experience where while I'm watching Joel and I'm calling it, I'm hearing the squeaking of sneakers and the ball hitting the rim as if it were a practice in an empty gym. And this was a critical situation in a game, seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Now, of course, it's a world of difference. And the way they've done it now, these past few games in the playoffs, they have had people literally filling the entire lower bowl and on each side of the long part of the court. And they've only had empty sections way above behind the baskets in the second level. Now all that's going to change, whether there's a game 5 or a game 1 of the second round. It's going to be a full house, and that's going to be really cool.
That is absolutely incredible. And obviously, we're going to talk a lot more about this playoff series and your time, obviously, calling the Sixers. But I do want to get this in because you're doing something that's just incredible. You've done this before. You got a new edition out. You had an original shirt out there turning garbage into gold. And now it's hang on a la we're coming in for a landing. And these are awesome with cheesesteaktees.com. You can check them out for details, but all the net proceeds are going to Philadelphia Youth Partnership with the Zooism tees and hoodies. Tell me about these, my friend. These are fantastic.
There had always been a thought to take some of the sayings and put them on a T-shirt and sell them for the benefit of a charity. So we did it with not only turning garbage into gold, but we trademarked the phrase. We went out and I think we made upwards of $4,000 for Philadelphia youth basketball. And we said, you know what? The playoffs, people are watching, people are into it. Let's do it again. People were actually clamoring because we only sold the garbage into gold T-shirts for a limited amount of time. So we said, hey, people seem to like hang on, Oliver, coming in for a landing. We put that not only on T-shirts, but hoodies as well. Not sure how the sales are going at this point. We just put it out on Friday, but I'm excited with the response and hoping to make more money.
These are great, and I know we all have our favorite zooisms. I know I just talked about yes. I mean, locking all windows and doors, coming in for a landing. I mean, everything really it's all gold. You don't even start with garbage; it's already gold, my friend. But I want to get back to this playoff series here because as I am watching it, and especially the way Joel Embiid played in Game 3, there was something about it that looked effortless. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Wizards organization or anything like that, but just to talk about how good this basketball team is. Do you get that same type of vibe watching this team that has at least right now, a guy like Joel Embiid, it just looks so effortless with how good he is?
I think that just has a lot to do with who he is and how far his game has come. Whether it's Doc Rivers inspiring him and saying, hey, have you ever seen an out of shape MVP at the beginning of the season, and challenging him to just a natural maturation. He's 27 years old now. He's a father. I think he senses that he is going to be leaving a legacy, and he has kind of asked himself, what kind of a legacy will that be? And he said to us on the air, I want to be known as Hall of Famer. I want to be known for someone who has won championships. And then you hear Doc Rivers after every game saying, we've done nothing yet. We've done nothing yet. Well, I'm thinking now if they sweep the Wizards, they'll have done something, but not everything. I think that should be the phrase, the catchphrase, or the battle cry, if you will, going into the next series is, we've done something, but we've not done everything, everything being an NBA title.
Yeah, and I am eagerly awaiting that, as I know you are as well. I want to go back to just having the crowd. Well, first off, let me ask you this: how much longer do we get to enjoy you? How much longer do we get to enjoy you and Allah in the playoffs?
So we are restricted to the first round. It's an agreement the NBA has with its national TV partners. It's fine with me. Tom McGinnis is awesome. He does all the games on the radio, and I think because people don't see his face, a lot of people don't recognize him for the greatness that he displays every single night. I'm more than happy to hand the baton to him and let him carry it through, hopefully to an NBA title, and have him make the call. But I do remember back in 2001, we actually did a few games of the conference finals. It was a different world then. Now the national TV folks take over. But listen, I always say this. I'm a kid who grew up in Northeast Philly. I've broadcasted the games for the team that I grew up rooting for the last 27 years, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with this, look, my prediction is that the Sixers will win in a sweep. That's my prediction. However, my benefit of them, if they just happen to not have it all that one game, Game 4, and they come back for Game 5, is that we get at least one more game of Zoo and Allah calling it. So let me ask this: what does in general, what does a Philadelphia crowd mean to you? Like, as a broadcaster, as somebody who has been doing it for 27 years, as someone who grew up here, when you get that crowd in the building, what does it mean to you to have a fan base like that?
Really, for me, Mark, and I don't mean to sound flippant about this, but it's really a deeply emotional experience for me because, as I just said, this is the team I grew up rooting for. You could see I went to Super Bowl 52, 41-33, February 4th, 2018. I mean, these are the things that you think about every day. This is part of our fabric. It's part of the blood. It's red, white, and blue blood, or it's green blood on Sundays, or whatever it happens to be. So for me, inside, I'm a part of that. I'm a part of that crowd. And when I'm done doing the games, whenever that happens to be, I'll be a part of that crowd as well. In the meantime, I'm a Union season ticket holder. I'm an Eagles season ticket holder. I watch the Flyers when I can. And of course, the Phillies, don't forget them. I go way back with them to the early 60s. So again, it's an emotional thing for me. And deep inside, I'm cheering right along with them.
Where does this team, I know you probably hate the question of ranking teams, but for me personally, this team is right there with the 0-1 team in terms of excitement. They have the dynamic player like Joel Embiid, similar to Allen Iverson in terms of how dynamic and exciting they could be on the court. Where does this team right now rank, being that it looks like they'll at least get out of the first round of the playoffs here?
Yeah, right now they rank among the best I've ever seen. But again, listen, I think they're going to win the NBA title. That's been my prediction all along. And if you go back to the first pregame show we had this year for the home opener, ironically, against the Wizards in December on NBC Sports Philadelphia, they asked me to make some kind of a prediction that I had not thought of to that point. And I said that Joel Embiid could very well be the MVP. So I've been a believer all along. Obviously, the final answer is in what they do come, the rest of these playoffs. And they have to show that, they could have a problem in the second round with Atlanta and New York. I'm not saying they won't get by them. I think that they will. But these are teams that are going to present stiffer competition. And then the inevitable Nets or Bucks, which is going to be an epic series. And then you have to survive that and meet who in the finals, whether it's the Lakers again or the Utah Jazz or somebody like that. So there is a lot of that road to hoe. But in the meantime, to this point, clearly one of the best Sixer teams I've ever seen.
Last thing for you here, Mark. What has been the biggest difference, or at least the biggest difference maker on this team from last year to this year?
It's popular to say Doc Rivers, and in fact, that is clearly the big difference. Of course, there have been differences in personnel as well. The additions of Danny Green and Seth Curry, just thinking off the top of my head. I also think, as I'd mentioned earlier, a natural maturation process, whether it's Tobias Harris coming of age under a coach he's played under before, or Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. The one thing that I don't want to take away from, and I don't know how popular this will be, is the fact that Brett Brown, whether or not he was the guy who was going to get them to this point, deserves some credit. Remember, he developed Joel Embiid while he sat out for 2 years with injury. And he made Ben Simmons into a point guard, even though he did miss his rookie year. So while Brett isn't here to claim any of that credit, I feel compelled that I want to claim some of that credit for him. He had to sit through those process years, and now I think in some measure we are all reaping the benefits of his labors.
Yeah, I'll say when I go back and forth with fans on Twitter, that's one of the first things they point out is, oh, well, that's the difference between Doc Rivers and Brett Brown.
Right.
And I always say, well, you mentioned personnel. Daryl Morey had a big hand too. I mean, these are two starters in your lineup now that you didn't even have last year. One's already a champion in Danny Green.
That, and the fact that I think what he has done is he has brought players to Doc Rivers that Doc feels he needs to play the kind of game that he wants to play. So a credit to both of those guys for establishing a really good vibe between the two of them. So listen, the roster is now set. This is the hand they're being dealt, but I have to tell you that they are loaded. And I do, again, believe it's a team that's going to win it all.
All right, well, I know at some point, regardless of what happens, if they do win a championship, I know in some way we will get a Marc Zumoff call of that the final seconds. I know we can work that. I know we can make it happen. Marc Zumoff, you're the absolute best, man. You know that, and I want to just point this out one more time. You can check out the Zooisms tees and hoodies, cheesesteaktees.com. People can check it out right there. All the great phrases from Marc Zumoff benefiting Philly youth basketball. Marc Zumoff, you continue to be a man amongst boys, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
You got it, my man. The feeling is mutual. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. The great Marc Zumoff joining us here on the Zatos Investments guest line. Always a pleasure talking to the great Marc Zumoff. And I will say this, I know I mentioned my wife once already when it came to Joel Embiid and the great throwdown he had before halftime against the Wizards in Game 3. But I'll tell you this, I believe there's one guest, no offense to all my other guests, one guest that my wife will be like, oh, how's he doing? And it's Marc Zumoff. Oh, how's Marc doing? How's Marc Zumoff doing? Like, that's my wife. It's like, she's like, Marc Zumoff is like my wife's favorite personality, if you will, from Philadelphia sports. Not athlete, of course. Actually, yeah, there's no athlete either. Like, it's Marc Zumoff. I'm pretty sure that's my wife's favorite person in probably even more so than me in the Philadelphia sports world. So I always appreciate when Marc's coming on. And I mean, am I wrong? Marc Zumoff, when he screams, yes, are we not all doing the same thing? And I feel like that's one of the most authentic things about Marc Zumoff is that, obviously, again, grew up here, lifelong Sixers fan. That's what he did growing up, was watch TV and watch the Sixers when he was growing up and watch those great teams. And when he was going through the moments of euphoria as a fan, he went ahead and took those into the game as a broadcaster. And I think he has done that in a way that is, I know a lot of people can become obnoxious in that way, but Marc doesn't do that at all. Marc keeps that authenticity that he had just as a normal fan and has it in the booth with him. It brings it in the booth with him every single time. And it's to the point where it gets you even more excited in that moment. When you see something happen where Joel Embiid drives the lane and has a dunk, or Danny Green can't miss from three, like he couldn't all of a sudden there in game 3. That kind of thing is what, or really the moment that comes to mind is Seth Curry's 3 in game 2 that kind of established everything. Saying, nope, this is the Sixers game. They got this one too. No problem. Joel Embiid's 3 from the top of the key. Those are just some great calls from Marc Zumoff in this series alone. And how about that? Going back through this season and talking about fans coming back to the building and how those players talk about it all the time. Joel Embiid talks about it. Ben Simmons talks about it. Having the fans to the building, how they raise the game and how they feed into the energy. Well, the same thing happens for a guy like Marc Zumoff, who wants to hear the fans and wants to get that buzz and that energy in the building back to make his calls even better. It raises his game, no doubt about that. Thanks to Marc Zumoff for coming on. And, you know, like I said, the one thing that would be a positive if the Sixers were to fall tonight, although it's not going to happen, will be at least we get one more game of Zoo. But I know everyone just wants to see the series wrapped up and they move on to the next round. And we will certainly be looking at that in just a little bit. So we will make sure that we do that. Let me tell you about the great people, ladies and gentlemen, of DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings, not only my favorite sportsbook, but it should be yours too, because it is the top-rated sports betting app in all of America. And make sure when you're using it, you see a promo, make sure you hit promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy, like what they got going on right now. DraftKings Sportsbook putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. That's right. Pick any basketball team that is still in contention, bet $1, and if that team wins, you can win $100 in site credits when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook offers some great odds on promotions on baseball and hockey playoffs and as well. So much more all throughout the week. DraftKings, safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Matter of fact, I had a nice little weekend that I'll tell you about in our Big Bets segment. But when you use DraftKings, make sure you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Farzy when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits on the site. Bet on basketball team of your choosing to win their next game. And if they do, you'll claim $100 in free bets. That's promo code Farzy. Limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Present in Pennsylvania. New customers only. Wager pays out in site credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our good friends at Steak and Maine at steakandmaine.com? I know they've been trying to hook me up with some other things going on. My man Tony was hitting me up over the weekend. Let me tell you, this place is fantastic. I'm looking forward. I'll be there in 2 weeks. Can't wait. I'm taking the wife down there. I told you we're going away for the weekend for our anniversary. We're going to start it off with a great meal from Steak and Maine at steakandmaine.com. Great wine selection. My wife loves wine. Great wine selection. Mouth-watering steak. Fresh seafood. Oyster bar as well. Make sure you take advantage of all that is going on at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. The Travel Channel and the Food Network all say Steak and Maine is the best place for steaks in America. How about that? So make sure you check them out at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Also, want to give a shout out to our good friends over there at FanUp. We'll be talking to those guys later in the week. Make sure I had a lot of challenges coming over the weekend, so thank you for all the people that were challenging me. Make sure you go to the App Store, download the FanUp app, and look at all the great challenges that they have right there on the FanUp app. Use promo code FANUP. You get 2,000 bonus points to play with right out of the gate. 2,000 bonus points. And what's so great about FanUp is that you could win real brand prizes with FanUp. That's right, real brand prizes with FanUp. I'm a DeWalt tools man, for instance, so I like to win, hopefully get a chance to win some DeWalt brand tools from FanUp. I know a lot of people, they're more into the Jordans, they're more into the Pelotons. That's what you could do right there with FanUp, as they have so many great brand prizes you could win. You could squad up with your friends. You could challenge your friends. I know our man Dan Schwartz, who's always commenting here on our YouTube. Dan, who's challenged me over the weekend. He got a challenge from our friend Natalie Eganoff, as a matter of fact. You can get challenges there as well, looking at all the great stuff. When it came to, rebounds, points, and assists, combined for Ben Simmons? Would it be over under 30? Stuff like that. You could bet on that with your friends. It's a great app. Download the FanUp app in the App Store. Right out of the gate, get 2,000 bonus points if you use promo code FANUP. So there you go. Those are all some great things you can take advantage of. I also want to tell you about our friends there at PHLSportsNation.com. That's PhiladelphiaSportsNation.com, a Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. That's PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. I know I've talked a lot about the 76ers, and rightfully so, right? But this is one thing that I couldn't help but to use over the weekend. Did you see this particular play involving Davis Bertans? Oh, this brings us into our Morning Rush, by the way. Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Look at this. Davis Bertans, I believe this was in the second quarter of Game 3. He collided with Ben Simmons' shoulder. And if you haven't seen this yet, you tell me right now. Not block or charge, because I don't want people taking this literally. Flop or legit? Flop or legit? You tell me. I say legit. I know a lot of people were calling it out for a flop. And when I put that out there, a lot of people were like, oh, good way to capture the flop, whatever. No, I honestly think that I think Ben Simmons just caught him off guard with his shoulder and knocked his ass down. What's really funny about it is that when Davis Bertans tries to get up, he gets up like, how did they not call a foul on that for a little illegal pick or whatever? Like, Ben Simmons just got him off guard. And Ben Simmons is, like I mentioned, Joel Embiid's an Adonis of a human being. Ben Simmons ain't too far off. And he goes up there and just throws a shoulder into him and knocks him on his ass. I couldn't help. I don't know why my eyes were drawn to it. It was happening in the middle of the screen. And things were already going bad for Bertans in that game anyway. And when I saw that happen with Ben Simmons, I go, oh, this has to be put out there. I got to make sure that people saw that. So people were going back and forth with me over the weekend on that. I don't say that was a flop. I say that Ben Simmons knocked him on his ass. That's what I say happened. Now, somebody else, and I think they were being sarcastic. It was like so over the top, the comment that they gave me, that it was so over the top that I'm like, this has to be sarcasm. And it was like basically about how Ben Simmons is a dirty player and you can't play like this in the NBA. It's supposed to be a gentleman's game. And I'm like, yeah, that's too over the top. That's got to be sarcasm. But that was just a play that stuck out to me in the game that I wanted to make sure I shared with you guys on the show in case you hadn't seen it yet. Something else I wanted to get to in the Morning Rush here. And I'll get to some comments, obviously. I skipped over that. I'll get to you guys in a second. But this is also, like, I can't believe, like, how, like, the amount of people that are just going to games right now after not being at games for a year. And, like, are they trying to ruin it for everybody else? We had the popcorn incident here. There was the spitting incident in New York with Trae Young. There was the verbal abuse to the family of Ja Morant in Utah, which I know shouldn't be a shocker, but for whatever reason, I just pictured mild-mannered people in Utah. And then I believe it was it 2 years ago, Russell Westbrook had an issue in Utah, and now this issue's gone on with Ja Morant. And now we have a bottle situation. Come on, people. Boston fans were called out for racist remarks. And this isn't the first time we've heard that about Boston and racist remarks being made in the stands. But Kyrie Irving is one of the people that came up and talked about this. Marcus Smart has talked about it in the past. Danny Ainge came out and said, yeah, I haven't heard that kind of thing. But whatever. So Kyrie Irving tries to put a little bit of a highlight on that, and a lot of people reacted in a negative way. Look, he heard what he heard. So some Boston fans took issue with that. They also, I think, took issue with the idea that Kyrie Irving went to the center court and stomped on the Celtics leprechaun, I guess, at center court, and then he walked off. He kind of smeared his foot on the head of the Celtic logo at midcourt. And then he walked off. And as he walked off, this happened. Take a look at this.
NBA with fans crossing the line. Somebody tossed a water bottle, and it nearly hit Kyrie as he was walking to the tunnel. Tyler Johnson noticed.
Like, if you want to go to a game and you want to chant, like, here's a perfect example. Last night before the game, fans in Boston were chanting, KD sucks. KD sucks as he was shooting warm-ups. Okay, that's what fans do. I caught it on SportsCenter. The announcer on SportsCenter, I don't know what the guy's name was, but he started, fans, it's unoriginal. Oh, come on, whatever. And I'm like, that's ragging. They're just ragging as fans, and we're supposed to do in a game. That's exactly what fans are supposed to do in a game. Try to get in the player's head, tell him how much he sucks, even though he doesn't. I mean, Boston fans told Jeter he sucked for all those years, and they were half right. But they told A-Rod how much he sucked, and they go to New York, and New York tells Nomar Garciaparra, I don't know why that's the first name that comes to mind. He sucks. Manny Ramirez sucks. David Ortiz sucks. Guess what? They all didn't suck. Half the people you're talking about that suck, they really don't suck. They're actually pretty good, but that's why you're trying to get in their head because they're pretty damn good, and you don't want to perform at the highest level. So you try to get in their head. That's called home court advantage or home field advantage or home ice advantage, right? That's the whole point. But the minute you dump popcorn, throw a bottle, purposely seek out his family and talk trash to his family, that's just crazy. You got to keep it to the verbal stuff. You got to keep it to that stuff for the people on the court playing. The family stuff, leave them alone. Leave them alone. The people on the court are fair game when it comes to the verbal stuff. Do you want to chant they suck? Fine. Racial stuff is the next level. That is no. That is not allowed. But the you suck chants, trying to get in their head, that's all part of home court and home field advantage. Anything physical or racial? What the hell's wrong with you? And that's, of course, when I say you to the fans that are actually doing that. But everything else is fair game. That's part of what you sign up for. And one of the things that sticks out to me from The Last Dance, everyone was talking about Michael Jordan, and that's the lead. But there's one thing from that stuck with me that had nothing to do with Michael Jordan, and it was Dennis Rodman. When he said he would play basketball, he goes, they don't pay me to play basketball. They pay me to put up with the other stuff. The attention you get from being a basketball player, the attention you get from being on that Bulls team, the attention you get when you're as much of a lightning rod as Dennis Rodman was, right, throughout his career. And he said, that's what they pay. I'll play basketball for free. They got to pay me to put up with the other stuff. That was like, that really made me think. Because, basketball. Like, imagine if nobody cared. They're not going to make the money that they're making now. And I know that's why when everyone always uses the old cliche, hey, we pay your salary as fans. And no, that's not technically true. No, that's true. If we didn't give a damn, there wouldn't be that money available for that player. So yes, it's 100% true that fans pay the salary. It might not be in the literal sense, but in terms of they don't hand the paycheck to the player. But the fact that we give a damn as a fan base creates that market, creates that money. So that's something that always stuck with me. So this is a lot. This BS goes beyond just the putting up with a chance that you suck. Anything physical, anything racial. Come on, people. Can we at least try to be better than that? And I'm sorry that people that are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing even have to hear that. But it drives me nuts when I see it now throughout the country. And I know some fans will be happy about this. We got left off. We got left off the list because Kyrie Irving after the game. And by the way, the Nets right now are up in the series 3-1 after that 50-point performance from Jason Tatum stole him a game in Game 3. Nets were able to dominate yesterday, and that was that. But after all that, Kyrie Irving addressed the media, and he said, we got issues happening in Utah, we got issues happening in New York, and issues happening in Boston, and that just can't happen. And I'm like, did he forget about Philadelphia? Finally, once we weren't on the tip of somebody's tongue when it came to bad fans? Thank you, Kyrie Irving. Anyway. So that's what took place. As last thing on the morning rush out west, we already talked about Anthony Davis going down with a groin injury. He's day-to-day. We'll see what happens to the Lakers throughout that series. The Dallas Mavericks and the LA Clippers, that's now all of a sudden a series. The Clippers flipped the proverbial switch, and now they're a totally different team. They even things up 2 games apiece. Luka Doncic, I think it was a neck injury that was hampering him in Game 4. So now that series goes back to Los Angeles. I do want to now go to our comments here. Later on the comments here on a Memorial Day with people with the day off. Ian saying, what's up? Ian, thanks for saying hello. How's it going? They ended it tonight, Matt Snell is saying. That would be perfect because the Bucks really impressed me. And our social media check-in is brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. That would really impress me. The Bucks have impressed me a lot because they're going up against, I think, a good Miami team, a team that closed out the season very well, like Miami did. And the Bucks just played the revenge card, I feel, throughout that game. Because the Bucks were the number one team in the NBA last year. They got knocked out in 5 games in the second round of the playoffs against the Miami Heat. The Bucks responded phenomenally in the offseason, adding Drew Holiday, most notably. But then they go out in this series, and they just took it to the Heat and blew them out of the water. The Sixers need to do the same type of thing. I think to keep pace, to get a break. Ben Simmons was asked about it after the game, after game 3, where he said, how much would it mean to you guys to have a little bit more time off than normal? And he said it would be fantastic. Like, that would be great. Like, they all want to get a little bit of a break. And for anyone that was talking about, oh, they're a little rusty. They're a little rusty coming out maybe. And maybe the Wizards were going to steal the game. And I was talking about that going into game 1. Oh, yeah, no. They had no problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever going up against the Wizards in game 1. No rust factor whatsoever. So I don't think in the middle of the playoffs they're going to have that either. After the first round of the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be dealing with that rust factor either. Nat's also checking in saying thanks everyone for their service. Here. Say that one more time. Craig's just giving us some fist bumps on the morning. Good morning to you too as well, Craig. Nick is saying bust out the brooms today. I hope that's how it happens. I hope that's what goes down today. I hope that the Sixers get the time off and they can just rest and relax and get those couple of days off as they wait for their next opponent. Rick's checking in saying, legend, Marc Zumoff is a legend. You're absolutely right. He is a legend. Thanks for everyone that commented there on our social media check-in. Brought to you by our friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Here's what I had going on over the weekend for our Big Bets segment brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. I had never done this before. I was betting balls and strikes, folks. I was betting balls and strikes. I had a number I wanted to get to on my DraftKings account, and I got to that number by betting balls and strikes. I had never done that before. Let me tell you, that's a good time. And there was one particular pitch from Zach. I thought Zach Wheeler was just pounding the strike zone in his start on Saturday. And I was like, oh, let's see if I can get in on this. I want a couple of bucks. But I got to the number I wanted to get to, and you can do that on DraftKings. I also bet on the Nets at -9 to beat the Celtics. That happened, so I hit on that bet. I also hit on the Sixers on Friday night. I hit on that bet. Sixers were going into that game -6.5. I got them at -6.5. They obviously won by more than 6.5, so that was good. I hit on the Bucks blowing out the Heat. They went into that game, I think, at -8. I hit on the Bucks. So I had myself a nice little weekend, and I hope to continue that today. Sixers -8 going up in game 4 against the Washington Wizards. I like the Sixers at -8. The Jazz at -5 going up against the Grizzlies again tonight. I like the Jazz at -5. So, look, I'm picking favorites, if you will, here, but I'm picking these guys to win comfortably. So, again, I like the Sixers at -8. I like the Jazz at -5. Basically picking chalk for you tonight. But with that being said, the -5 for the Jazz and the -8 for the Sixers is what I am getting in on tonight. Going to take a look at some of the other prop bets that are going to be going on. I've been having some luck on some of these blowouts, betting the unders. That's one bet I lost out on last night. I bet the under for Celtics, Nets. Thought things would slow down in that fourth quarter. That didn't happen. I'm a big fat idiot for that one, so I took an L on that. So to let you know I'm human. Took the L right there, but hopefully I'll bounce right back today with the Sixers and the Jazz games going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you click subscribe there on our YouTube page. Appreciate you guys chiming in on the show as per usual on this fine Memorial Day edition of the Farzy Show. And just one more time, I want to hit this for you for people that are going to be getting involved in some of these other bets that are going to be going on with DraftKings. Use promo code Farzy for your chance to turn $1 into $100 with DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook. You bet on a team to win in basketball, bet $1. You can cash out at 100 in-site credits. So make sure you do that with promo code Farzy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for how dare I? I knew there was one more thing I wanted to get to. I'm really excited about this. On Monday, I'm going to have the opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to go to French Creek Golf Club in Elverson. That's Monday, June 7th, for a golf outing for Athletes for Care. Our friend Riley Cote is involved with these guys. They're awesome. Athletes for Care is a nonprofit organization founded in 2017 by passionate people who recognize the need to advocate for health, safety, and well-being of more than 2 billion people of all ages who compete annually in sanctioned sports globally. Through that advocacy, they're providing health and wellness options for billions of people around the world living with mental and physical illness, including chronic pain, depression, anxiety, PTSD, CTE, TBI, substance abuse, and opioid dependency. So I'm going to be getting involved with these great people at Athletes for Care with their golf outing. I'll be out there interviewing some of the athletes that will be on hand on Monday, a week from today, and I'll be taking you guys there as well, as we're going to do a nice little segment on that. So first off, just thanks for all the people with Athletes for Care that do a great job. For more information, check it out at athletesforcare.org. That's athletesforcare.org. Once again, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe there on our YouTube page and also download wherever you download your podcast. Also, we've noticed a little bit of problem. People have told us about this in terms of trying to get the podcast. I think you have to refresh the Spotify, refresh the Apple, and they're having some issues with that. And we're not the only people that have been getting complaints on that for podcasts. So make sure you just have an up-to-date app on all of that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. My thanks to Jim Hyden working on a holiday. Jim Hyden produced the program. It's a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. And once again, I'll end the show. Thanks to not only everyone that has served, but everyone that has sacrificed and everyone had to deal with a sacrifice on this Memorial Day. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. I'm Marc Farzy. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, hopefully talking about the Sixers completing the sweep of the Washington Wizards. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.